mite. It's a mite that sucks on the bees, and it's pretty miserable for beekeeping. Came from Asia, transferred over to the European honeybee in the 70s, maybe late 60s, and as a result, pretty much wiped out most of the wild bee stocks. In Ireland, you don't have wild bees as a result of Corona. That's just the way it is now. A colony will succumb to its effects within about 2 years. So not only does it suck on the blood of the bee, but also transfers viruses when it's doing that. That's what's the viruses that will kill the bees. So as a beekeeper, you've got to treat for your bees pretty much every year for Varroa, or else they will die off. And it's even that you really keep an eye on, because once the Varroa potential gets up high at all, and if they're carrying there's 4 main there's a whole 10, 15 different viruses. They're carrying those viruses. The hive are very big. So you won't really see it. You won't even see the Varroa. It's big enough you'll see it. You tend to go under the segments, you don't really see it. But all of a sudden, your bees just collapse. That's it. So you got to keep on top of the Varroa. So that's a Varroa mesh. So the thinking behind a Varroa mesh is that bees will naturally fall off the mites will naturally fall off the hives as they go along, and the idea is they'll fall through the mesh and fall onto the floor. Plus, there's different ways of measuring for how much Varroa you have in your hive, and one is you might adjust them or actually see a natural mite fall of the mites, and you count that and establish there's ways of then establishing what percentage of mites you have. So there's that floor and there's other floors underneath that, so we can catch the mites and see what's going on. Take it off and pressed, or cleaned up and pressed. And there's little hexagonal shapes on the wax. That's basically the starting point for them to start drawing out the comb. And a lot of debate about the size of this, because it predetermines the size of the bee that's going to come out. Because technically in the wild, bees were a bit bigger, but they discovered that more small bees is better than a lot of big bees, so they make them smaller. So we'll have 6,000 bees, and peak in the summer you might have 30,000 bees in a hive, and you might have 2-3 super smoke. It's really down to environmental conditions. So the queen can lay 1,000 eggs a day, but what you're down to is how much food there is, how much nectar there is, how much pollen there is, the weather temperature, and how many bees there are actually in the hive to keep X amount of brood warm. So, but it's amazing how quickly, like April, I started looking at the hives and they've at least doubled in size. They'll look at the eggs. They'll look at the eggs and pick the best, pick the earliest larvae that emerge. So 4 days after the eggs hatch, the larvae emerge. So one is brand new larvae, and they'll be able to start feeding it more royal jelly than they feed the workers. So the workers and the queens are genetically identical, other than the fact that the queen is fed more royal jelly, which allows her sexual organs to develop. And they'll do that with maybe 4, in this case, maybe 4 or 5 of the larvae. So there'll be 4 or 5 queens. So probably was young larvae in there. So on Saturday, probably started feeding these young larvae. So that's 16 days for queen to emerge from the egg. So 4 minus 16, 12. So in 12 days' time, queens start emerging. The strongest queen survive, basically. May last year was middle of May was when before I opened the hive in middle of May last year. This year I opened them in April, and generally it's April, end of April. They're building up. Once you start seeing some flowers and that sort of stuff, they're building up pollen. Pollen is very important. Pollen is the protein for them, and they can't have brood without pollen. They can't raise brood. And then really they're just ticking along. At least the west of Ireland in particular, they're just ticking along. With whatever food, there's dandelion, there's some of the trees, and then the honey flow is in June, July, late June, July. Blackberry. Blackberry is part of what country is really the honey flow. You get rapeseed, stuff like that over the east coast, and there's crops that they will work on. You don't get that here. So blackberry is the big one, and by the end of July, beginning of August, the season's over. They're winding down. The queen will start slowing down laying. By middle of August, you probably have your honey taken off, You start feeding them, make sure they have enough food to go through the winter. And she'll still keep ticking along, laying, and by the end of September, you're not open the hive anymore. So really, April, September, October. The whole thing is to build up the bees. The rest of Ireland is to build the bees for the blackbird.